So in sort of full in full transparency, I realized when I was redesigning the blog for Pesto and Potatoes that I really neglected Pinterest. It was something that I decided wasn't, I had to let something go, and Pinterest was the thing I let go. But as I've watched the trends and what's been happening, I noticed that Pinterest is actually a significant driver of traffic to where I want things to go. And I have a lot more control on Pinterest because it's not a traditional social media platform. And I'll get into that here in a minute. So I just put together some highlights and some resources. I'll have a little Q&A at the end, but drop questions into the chat and Ali or Pooja or Michelle or someone if you can kind of track those and as they come up, we can chat through them. But I'll try to get through the presentation and then it's not too long, so we'll be able to go back and address those if I can. All right, so this is a simple, like obvious thing to me, but start with consistency. It really is true that if you're consistent, this isn't just Pinterest, this is any social media platform. The algorithms bless consistency. So if you can only post one pin per week, post it at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Put that on your calendar and post that one pin every week. If you can pin for 30 minutes every day, be consistent on doing it for 30 minutes every day. It doesn't have to be at the same time, but commit to a schedule of some sort and stick to it. And I know when you're getting started in something like this, it's really easy to like bite off more than you can chew and be like, I'm going to do 100 posts and I'm going to create 100 original pins. And then you're like, oh, I spent 16 hours doing that, and now I have no bandwidth to get consistent. So spread that out, schedule your pins, or do whatever. Experts suggest that you should pin 5 to 10 pins per day, but decide what's manageable for you because more important than posting 5 to 10 pins per day, which I know Haley and some others we've seen, like it's not realistic to necessarily like follow these like do this and this. But what I think the real key message is consistency is key, and mix in some video pins along with some static image posts. So you're already creating video content, whether it's reels or whatever. And I'll kind of show you how to mix those in. So find your style. This is a really important thing. Using tools like Canva or Photoshop to create your Pinterest brand. I am a trained graphic designer. I've used the full Adobe Creative Suite for a long, long time, and so I'm a little bit of a purist. But I realized recently that Canva actually can save me a ton of time because I can create my templates and copy and paste and retype headlines, add new keywords. My logo and everything is already there. So it's a lot easier for me to replicate new pins in this way. So I would say make 2 to 3 templates to keep it Pinteresting. Save your templates to easily replicate. And always, always, always include your brand, your logo, your website, your FoodSocial or social media handle, wherever you want to drive traffic. You'll see on a couple of these pin samples I have here that I have the Pesto and Potatoes logo and I have my URL. It's really a visual thing. A lot of folks will tell you add a call to action, add a like click here or get recipe or try this now and make it clickable because obviously pin images are clickable. And you can do all of that with video or still images. Um, and the last thing, and this has been really helpful for me, is once you've done the work of creating these designed images, duplicate it. So for this spinach tofu stir fry, which is a popular recipe on my blog, I have a variety of images. So I created 3 variations of this same pin, except for with different images. And I saved all 3 of them into a folder that's just living on my desktop rent free, but it needs to have a better home. But I have a Pinterest pins, images, and videos that I've exported from Canva or from Photoshop where I have those templates. And I just save all of them in there with the name of the recipe and keywords plus the word Pinterest. So I can do a quick search on my desktop in that folder and find something for easy repinning of original content, which I'll get to in a second. So this is something that the reason I wanted to present about this is because Pinterest is actually the number one driver of traffic to my FoodSocial page and my profile. And there's one singular pin that drives I meant to look at the stats this morning, but it drives a bulk of all of my FoodSocial traffic. And it's one pin that got some heavy traffic. And that's where a ton of my FoodSocial traffic comes from, this one pin from Pinterest. But some tips on how to successfully use FoodSocial links is create roundups. We have collections now. So use collections to create a roundup in your niche. I did from the picnic, from my picnic basket. I created this pin graphic for Sip Salads and Sun, a picnic recipe collection. And I put images from the recipes I developed for the campaign, but that I then was able to put on Pinterest and link to that collection, which means that hopefully if people click on that pin and visit the site, they're going to FoodSocial and they're going to explore more than just one recipe. They're going to look through that whole collection. The other one, there is an example of some of a collection that I put together for some of my pescatarian recipes. That's my niche. So fish and seafood, 19 pescatarian recipes. They're all Whole30 compatible because that's a big part of my brand. So I put those 19 recipes from FoodSocial into a collection. I created this pin and launched it in there. Odd numbers perform better. That's not just a Pinterest thing. That's a product marketing thing is that people love 5, 7, 3, um, especially in those lower single digit numbers. It's more achievable. You'll see if you look at Pinterest a lot, you'll see like 5 and 7, especially because a lot of people use Pinterest for meal planning. So it'll be 5 easy weeknight dinners or 7 breakfast ideas that aren't eggs or whatever the content is. Add keywords for what I call visual SEO. So you see that I put Whole30 on that fish piece. For people who are visually looking at pins, um, they can see, oh, this is Whole30, and that might be what they searched for, or it might just be what draws their attention. 10-minute recipes, 30-minute meals, easy, vegan, gluten-free, whatever your sort of keywords are, include at least one or a few of those on your images in a creative way. Use carousels on Pinterest. If you haven't done this before, it's just uploading multiple images and it creates a carousel to show featured products from the FoodSocial market. So, for example, that margarita uses profanity jam, pineapple habanero jelly. If I wanted to do a pin for that margarita, I could put that image and then on a second image put in a picture of the jam or whatever, and then link my link to the shoppable link. Add in your content, save 10% with Pesto, but more and more, Pinterest is becoming a shopping site, and a lot of people, I think, will tell you that they find that annoying. But the reality is, people are shopping Pinterest. In fact, I think I read a stat when I was putting this together that 2 out of every 5 people surveyed said that they use Pinterest as a search engine when looking for goods to buy. So consider a mix of recipe and shopping pins. That's kind of my final piece here is if you want to show beautiful food photography, but you really want to link to buying that product, just, create a fun headline that's like, Get the ultimate spicy jam for these margaritas and then shop now. Put a shop now button on there. People are shopping on Pinterest. That's why it's going in that direction. Whether we like it or not, there's going to be more of that content. Uh, Okay, so I don't know how many of you know about the Trends tool, but trends.pinterest.com is your new BFF. If you've never looked at it, you absolutely should. They do an annual trends report, and I just pulled a couple of things that I thought were relevant to our space. But pickles are a big thing that have been trending. Fried pickle dip, the search for that was up 80% um, year over year. Pickle margaritas was up 100%, and pickle cake, which I can't wait for someone to make the pickle cake, it was up 45%. Rat cakes in the chaos cakes category was up 170%. I went down I'll say rat hole, looking at some of those rat cakes, which is probably contributing to that. And then
Can you
silly
tell us
cakes.
what rat cakes are, Reed, really quickly? Because I don't think anyone's gonna be able to pay attention to anything else until we
A
know.
rat cake is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a cake that's decorated in the shape like to look like a rat. So it's like a big, um, it's just like a cake that's decorated like a rat. So
So no
there you
rats, no rats were harmed in the making of these.
no rat, no, yeah, no rats were harmed in the making of the cake. And then the silly cake, I just pulled that. Silly cakes are like,
I just
um,
dropped a picture of one in the chat, Reed.
they're pretty gnarly. They also look like, um, maybe Isla put them together. Most of the ones I saw it looked like a child frosted the cakes with their hands. But the silly cake thing was really that sort of, I guess, quote unquote trend is just all about like fun or goofy cake themes that people are looking for to like make for their office coworkers or whatever. Um, I'm gonna try to share this. I wanted to show quickly how the trends tool works. Um, but I'm gonna have to stop and then reshare here. So it's not going over. Um, and then I'll go back. Okay, so this is the trends screen, and just I'm gonna show, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this is something like you could really get lost in more than like scrolling TikTok for hours. Is you can search keywords. So I could say like, oh, salmon recipes. How are salmon recipes trending? And then it gives you all of the keywords that are searched or that are used, and you can kind of see the trend lines. So I might be like, oh, salmon recipes pan seared. I want to use this long tail keyword search. How can I see how many hits it's getting over time? And then I might be like, oh, I want to compare that to um, salmon salad. And I'll do salmon salad recipes. So I can see that salmon salad recipes is actually performing, it's getting more search results than pan seared recipes. And there's this really fun predict the future tool. So not every search term has those, but a lot do. And it shows you what Pinterest believes the next few months might look like. So you can determine like, oh, I want to create a salmon salad recipe. Um, I'll post it at the height of its time, or I want to get it up before the Pinterest predicted trend sort of goes away. And you can change the timeline and all of this for the past year or various different times. So um, that is for you to check out at a later time when you're ready to go. Let me get back to my presentation here. Just oops, 1 second. Sorry.
Reed, most of what you missed in the chat is about rat cakes, honestly.
Okay, perfect. Uh, 1 second.
I can tell you the 10-day outlook in our house on rat cakes. We're absolutely going to be making one.
It made me so uncomfortable that I I'm sweating from laughing.
They're they're pretty wild.
Love it.
I knew that might be the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just change a little bit of the decorating and it could be so many different things.
Right. Yes. Correct.
Next month's happy hour workshop is going to be a rat cake tutorial.
Okay, sorry, that took me a. Okay, so that's the trends tool. I think that will be a key takeaway. So go look up rat cakes and chaos cakes and see how they're going to be trending in the future. But you can find all of those Pinterest trends uh, there. So this is for me, this is the most important thing to know about Pinterest is not a social media platform, it's a search engine. And I think people don't think about that, but users of Pinterest don't doom scroll on Pinterest. They go to Pinterest, they scroll a little bit to see what the people they're following have posted, but they're spending most of their time in the search bar searching just like you would search in Google. So you want to write keyword rich pin titles and descriptions. So I use a pin title that's different or slightly different than the title that I put on the visual SEO that I talked about. So if I put like, let's say I put salmon salad with spicy vinaigrette or something, and I put that on the image, on the pin title, I'm gonna put easy salmon salad recipe with spicy vinaigrette. It's gonna pick up more keyword options. That SEO is so crucial. So you're also going to want to create boards with long tail keywords. So think about how you search. You don't search for vegetarian. You search for vegetarian recipes or plant-based recipes. So don't call your board vegetarian. And also don't do as I say, not as I do. I'll just also say that if you're looking at my Pinterest, I'm in the process of doing all of this alongside you. So call your board vegetarian recipes. Call your board gluten-free recipes. Create a board that is Celiac Awareness Month and share all of your resources. Right, Allie? I was running some of this by Allie and I said like, oh, you should have a board for Celiac Awareness Month. And she's like, it's half over. And I'm like, but it's gonna happen again next year. So think about what your audience is following you for and speak to them. Like, why would people keep coming back to your boards? Like, you'll see, I don't have a ton of Pinterest followers. And I saw an account the other day of a massive, massive creator. And she has 171 Pinterest followers, but she gets 3.5 million page views every month on her Pinterest. So followers don't matter as much because again, uh, Pinterest is a search engine. So speak to your followers, make boards that make sense for your content and that are consistent with your brand. So if you are the barbecue queen, you're going to want to have like a barbecue tools, get ready for summer grilling, get all of those boards in your mind. I say put those down on a list and don't create the board until you are ready to schedule or pin at least 3 pins to a board. I think most boards should have 8 pins. Again, do as I say, not as I do, to really be considered a board. But just be intentional about that when you're creating new boards and getting things together. And then link each pin strategically to your blog if you have one, if you have an offer, if you have an ebook to download, or if you have some kind of a lead magnet where you're trying to get people to like come to FoodSocial for a specific thing, like you have a whatever that looks like. Make sure that you're being very strategic and intentional about this. And I think I'm going to say this somewhere else, but like if I post my spicy margarita recipe that's on my blog and it's on FoodSocial, that's 2 separate links that I can try to go after and I can try different keywords. So I can drive traffic to FoodSocial, I can drive traffic to my blog. I have pins that drive to Instagram Reels and some of those do really well. And it's a nice way to like generate traffic around the block and get people to like go to an actual social media site and scroll my recipes. I've had some good success with FoodSocial links, which is why I'm talking about this today. Pin your own fresh content consistently. This is this is actually the number one takeaway is pin your own content and make fresh pins of that content. That's why, like I said, with that tofu and spinach recipe, it's a popular recipe. I've created a few different visuals for that. So I can pin that every 3 or 4 weeks or every couple of weeks even. And I can pin it to different boards. I can put it on plant-based Whole30 recipes. I can put it on FoodSocial recipes to try. I can put it on vegan recipes. I can put it in various boards. Um, but I like to try and spread those out so that if someone does go to my feed, they don't just see like that tofu and spinach recipe image 15 different times. Because the real thing that is the real takeaway here is that you, unlike social media, when your chance for something to take off is generally within the first couple of hours or 24 hours of posting, sometimes something sits on Pinterest and it takes off months later. And I have an example of this, which I'm not going to pull up because I don't want to go away from this screen again. But the number one driver of traffic for me on FoodSocial is my potato pave recipe. And that is from a Pinterest pin that I posted on November 3rd of 2024. And it started taking off a couple of months later at the beginning of this year. It has 35,000 impressions, which is pretty good considering my Pinterest size over time. And it gets about 1,500 impressions a month, driving that traffic to FoodSocial because that happens to be the one that sort of took off. You can repin your own content. Um, you don't want to do it too much. So I would say like for every 10 to 12 fresh pins you create, you could repin one. But if you start repinning too much of your own content, so if I had that tofu and spinach recipe on Whole30, plant-based Whole30 recipes, and I wanted to repin it to vegan recipes, I can do that, but if you do too much of it, Pinterest tends to see that as spam or trying to like uh, trick their algorithm, so they will downgrade you for that. The other piece is pinning other people's pins. I recommend having some private boards, and then if you want to pin other people's pins and do that on your Pinterest, is like hide those boards and pin them to those hidden boards so they're not out in the open. You can pin other people's pins to obviously to your boards, and that's okay. It's just you're really trying to drive your business and you're trying to grow your traffic to your blog or to your FoodSocial. So you want to be creating pins from your stuff. I have tested pinning from FoodSocial and pinning from my blog directly a little bit. I haven't done it. It's a newer thing that I've tried, so I don't have like great anecdotal information, but I would recommend, I just think from a marketing standpoint, is if you're going to repin your own things, instead of repinning from your actual Pinterest and adding it to a different board, is that I would go to FoodSocial and pin directly from FoodSocial, or go to your blog and pin from the pin card or from the pin button on your recipe card versus pinning from Pinterest. I just think it makes sense that it would perform better given everything else. And then pay attention to the analytics dashboard to see what's working. I look at my analytics on Pinterest uh, a lot, like every day right now, but because my Pinterest strategy is a key part of my traffic growth. It's like my number one thing that I'm focused on, just because I neglected it for so long. But pay attention to what's working and see if you can replicate it. Again, remembering your audience and that they're following you for a reason. So if they um, if they really resonated with the potato pave recipe, I probably should be trying to do other potato appetizer recipe pins that might resonate with them or that might be true to my brand. And Pinterest will see that I'm actually like developing uh, an area of expertise, so to speak. Okay, this I just wanted to throw in here. Sometimes you just have to ask for what you need. So don't be afraid if you have friends or if you have kids in school and there are moms in the school pickup line that you know are using Pinterest, just say, hey, it would be really awesome if you could go to my Pinterest board and repin 10 of my pins. Make a list of links for them that you can copy and send them in a text message and just say, would you mind repinning these? Highly engaged Pinterest users are very valuable to us. Um, my, I have a person who uses Pinterest as her main search engine, and she's not per se my target demographic because she's not a big cook, but she is a big idea collector, and she pins tons and tons of things. So I said, you're already pinning other people's recipes. Here's a list of my recipes that I would love for you to pin. And she did it because I just simply asked. So, some other things to consider. Set realistic goals that align with your business. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but um, don't expect that you're going to work on Pinterest 8 hours a day for 2 weeks and all of a sudden you're going to have a billion page views. It's not going to happen. And if it does, congratulations, but I don't put all of your eggs in the Pinterest basket. Eggs are expensive, so it would be a bad idea. Collaborate on boards with other creators. There's a creator on this call, I believe, and she's on to me. She must have seen this presentation because she invited me to a gluten-free recipe board that will show up once I accept it, which I will gladly do. And you can invite other creators to collaborate on a board. And so I'm not probably going to get this done today, but hopefully this weekend, I'm going to create a food social recipes I love board. And I'm going to invite all of you to collaborate. And I'm going to ask Pooja to give me the list of everyone's Pinterest that they dropped in. I'll invite all of you to collaborate and we can create a food social recipes we love. And what I'll ask you all to do is to put your top 2 or 3 recipes that you love from Food Social and create pins and add them to that board. I think it's a good takeaway exercise and it's a great way for us to collaborate as Food Social and support each other. Engage with creators you like and who are like you. Like, comment, and reply on their pins. And when people like, comment, or reply to your pins, make sure you're replying. I guess when they like or comment, once they comment, make sure you're replying and spending time to engage with those folks. They are commenting that they're going to maybe make this recipe, ask them how it turned out. Just like you would on social media or like you would on Food Social when someone comments on a recipe. I created a recipes to try board of recipes that I just wanted to start sharing some other creators, not even Food Social creators, but I wanted to create some boards of recipes that I wanted to actually try. And so that board has a lot of recipes from creators that I've pinned. So if I'm pinning other people's things, I pin them to that versus pinning them into my vegetarian recipes board or whatnot. Pinterest has more than recipes, so recipe is probably the most important keyword. I know that might not be intuitive, but people are searching for recipe. I don't know how I may be overhammering this home, but like they're not searching for sweet potatoes like you and I might search for sweet potatoes. They're searching for sweet potato recipes, just like you would maybe do on Google. Um, when things aren't working, mix it up. If you are you're trying to like get something to stick that's like a pasta salad recipe or vegetarian recipes or gluten-free breads or something that's really specific, mix up how you're doing that. Like put a how to make gluten-free bread title on something. Stay on theme for sure, but like mix up your titles, or maybe it's time to change up your visual graphics and try a new style that's maybe better. Okay, the last thing here is just I put together a list of resources and I'm going to run through these very quickly and then I will take questions. But business.pinterest.com, much like trends.pinterest.com, it's a treasure trove of information and resources to help you. Pinterest wants its creators to succeed. That is very unlike a lot of social networks. Um, so take a look at that. There's a ton of resources that are much better than everything I've shared today, but that will really help. The create.pinterest.com page is specific for creators. You can see links to trends. They give you ideas. You can even submit recipes, or you can submit pins for their consideration to share on their social channels, which obviously they have millions and millions of followers. There's tons of cool stuff there. Simple Pin Media, this is a Pinterest group that can help you if you want to spend a little bit of money and get support in managing your Pinterest or have it cleaned up or do an audit. I um, I paid them a little bit of money to have my boards reorganized because I again had neglected Pinterest for so long. I just had them set me up as a baseline, and then I got a 30-minute consultation with them, and it really helped kind of get me in the mindset to think about Pinterest. And it's how I have all of this information now. Fiverr, if you don't know about Fiverr, you should learn about it. If you need help with getting templates created for a very affordable price, you can get graphic designers from around the world to help you create graphics if you need a new logo for your brand. If you want to hire a virtual assistant, and if you're not familiar with what a virtual assistant does, they can do almost anything, but there are a lot of virtual assistants out there who focus primarily on Pinterest. They'll run your Pinterest board completely if you want, and they can write SEO copy for you. They can do everything from soup to nuts. Laura Piper is a well-known Pinterest strategist if you want to use someone uh, in North America. And Haley Bennett is someone that I saw, and she's newer on the scene as a VA, but I saw that she's been having some success. So I wanted to just share these resources as a jumping off point. So that is a lot of talking from me. So I will take any questions now if you want to just come off mute and shout those out, or Pooja, if you have some that came in the chat. I haven't looked at it.
Yes, Colleen, I had a question. She said you said it might be better to save the pin to a board I made directly from FoodSocial, but that image won't have the keywords on it, like if I made it on Canva. Is it good then to do both?
So the best thing to do is to create a new image and just use the link for the recipe. So you an image with words on it is going to perform better. The size is also going to be the 2:3 ratio that Pinterest prefers versus a square image that's going to come from Food Social. That being said, if you're just getting started and you want to bulk up your Pinterest boards with some of your Food Social content just to get you started, I think it's a good way to get some recipes there without having to spend too much time in Canva. But yes, Colleen is correct that you should definitely use um, an SEO visual image with the words on it.
Thanks, Reed. Debbie also had a question about whether you will share this. You plan to share these slides with us to reference back to.
Yes, I have them saved out as a PDF with clickable links that I'm going to drop into Slack for Pooja to distribute in whatever way, but I'll also, if you on Slack, where Pooja mentioned that I was going to be starting in 30 minutes. If you go to that feed, I'll drop them directly in there as well. But I think we have plans to distribute it in the future in a bigger way. But for everyone on this call, if you want to get it immediately, it'll be in the Slack channel under is that general or announcements? Announcement.
Announcements.
It'll be under announcements moments after this call.
And we'll also send that out when we send out the recording, we will include this slide deck as well. I don't know what's going on with my voice, but
any other questions that folks have, feel free to come off mute and ask.
I don't have a question, but I have I just started redoing my Pinterest. I have another Pinterest board that I always did really well on, but it's such a mess. And the one I have now is kind of a mess. So I just started doing like you're showing with the SEO right on the Canva images. And just in the last couple that I've done really well with that. But one thing I just did today for the first time was a FoodSocial link. And what I like is it actually brings the ingredients over and the description. Or not the description, I think just the ingredients. And with my blog, I don't have the ability for rich text, so it will never bring ingredients over. So I like the fact that with the FoodSocial, it brings all the ingredients right over.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it with my blog. I use Wix. Wix does not allow the rich text with the Pinterest. At least I haven't figured that out yet. So I really like that. And I also did 2 links to FoodSocial, ingredients. We'll see how that does today.
Yeah.
So I linked over to the tri-tip, and I linked over to some olive oil, and then it'll say shop, as it say, shop this way or shop this look right next to the pin. So we'll see how it works. It works really well for my Amazon, and it works well for going to my blog, but I just noticed today when I did the FoodSocial that it brought ingredients over. So it makes your pins all a little bit different, because I have read you don't always want the ingredients to come over because you might not want to click away from Pinterest to go out. I don't know. There's so many different.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like everything I presented is a culmination of a ton of resources. I'm in the Pinterest creators world. I got invited in. I didn't really talk about this, but that pin, that how to sear salmon pin, is the most viral thing I've ever put on the internet. It's had 1.33 million views, and 1.2 million of those happened overnight from me posting how to sear salmon. It was insane. Like I'm surprised my website didn't crash. But I got like 500 new followers on Instagram from that post. And I don't know if Pinterest did something to be like, hey, we're going to give this, if they targeted that, or if it just happened to be one of the first things I did. But
yeah,
I'm not going to touch that. It's old and it's out there. But yeah, like I don't think you ever know what's actually going to for sure work. So I want to focus on like consistency, right? And like doing whatever that looks like. A couple things that I saw come up. Colleen asked if it's frowned upon to delete boards that you already have. I don't think it's frowned upon from what I've heard, but what I would say is just make them private. Just turn them private and hide them from public view. Wedding pin boards are the number one board. Like wedding stuff is still the number one thing people are pinning and looking for on Pinterest, because it's a treasure trove of every aspect of planning a wedding. But the other, like I have like an interior design board that's on my business page, and much like Debbie, I have a redone Pinterest board that is probably a hot mess, because it's when Pinterest came out, I just like was pinning stuff I liked. I was using it for personal. But on my business board, because that's the one I use, I have an interior design board that's hidden, and I have a couple of other boards that are things if I happen to see a pin, I want to pin those things into those private boards. And I see just another question about going back to old boards and changing to clean up your old content. I would say you can read, I mean, create new board titles that have long tail keywords and pin fresh pins. I will say I've done this. I don't know if it's recommended or not, but I went back a couple weeks ago to some of my more popular pins or pins that got more page views, and I repinned them from Pinterest onto different boards because I'm like, these got really good page views for some reason. I don't want to change anything. Like, I don't want to rewrite the content to have different SEO targeted keywords. This worked once, will it work again? And again, I don't do that too much because I don't want Pinterest to think that I'm spamming. But because I'm very active on Pinterest, um, and I'm on it every day now, I think it's okay. Um, I thought there was one other question. I think, oh, Leah, in terms of how to make a carousel, so there's a difference between creating a new pin and a pin idea. When you create a new pin, you have both of those options. And I can't remember which is which without having to look. But if you drop multiple images in, uh, what it will look like is it'll just look like a slide through carousel, like just like a having multiple photos in a Instagram post. But they kind of overlap on each other, and one of them does turn them into videos, or an auto slideshow. Any
I have
other?
another question.
Yeah.
Do you know what the rules are about when you put your links to your shopping link, your shopping links? I've read on Pinterest that you have to have somewhere that you are getting commission so that you don't get tagged as so I've been putting like hashtag commissions earned because I don't know what I'm supposed to really be doing. Do you know what the
I
real way
I
is to do
I
it?
don't know I don't know the length of their rules, but what I always do is I either use hashtag sponsored or hashtag affiliate. And I know some people in their Pinterest bio, just like they do on their
Ah,
blog, they just put like some posts may contain affiliate links and I earn a commission on those.
yeah, because I don't know if I and put it on every single post, right?
Right.
Because you start adding those links in, so I guess the bio's probably good.
Yeah, I think, but I can't, I don't know for
I
sure.
don't either. Yeah, so
But I would say, like, I think if you use hashtag affiliate, I think people are pretty used to seeing that
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah.
And
I
so
think as long as you say something, yeah.
yeah.
Alrighty.
Um, and then Colleen, sorry, is it better to post in real time or scheduling pins considered good for the algorithm? I will say this, if you can schedule your pins, so I said that this Pinterest says 5 to 10 pins a day, and not just Pinterest, every Pinterest expert. I feel like that's who can really do that? Like, no one can do that on their own unless they're just doing Pinterest full time. I try to pin 2 to 3 new pins every day, and I schedule them out. I try to stay a week ahead of schedule, but by the time I get to Friday, my queue of scheduled pins has like dwindled to like one or none. It's hard to keep up with that, but what I'll say is if you can schedule them ahead and look at what times your content is doing best, you can schedule them for those times. So like my content seems, I'm on the West Coast. My content seems to do best when I post it at 6:30 a.m. local time. So when I schedule my pins, I either schedule them for 6:30 a.m. local time or 7 p.m. local time, because I'm thinking about when people might be looking at Pinterest. And locally, they're looking at Pinterest post dinner. And on the East Coast, they're hopefully maybe looking when they're crawling into bed late night and looking at Pinterest for, oh, what am I going to have for dinner tomorrow or next week or whatever. So I think about that's kind of how I do it. And I guess that's my strategy. It's not really secret sauce. But definitely I would say schedule, and you can schedule at any time throughout the day at the 30-minute mark. So, um, what's content branded program?
So I just was cleaning my Pinterest up because the thing was so dusty. And just in the settings, I saw branded content program, and it's basically how you make money on Pinterest. And so it said join or not. I just hit join and it said you're eligible, and it let me in. So I don't know if you're
Yeah.
supposed to be in that or not.
No, I think it's fine. Much like every social media platform, they have a creator fund. Um, so it's similar to
Like
uh
getting the blue check mark on Instagram, but not paying for it.
it's not, I don't know that it's that, but it is you can they have a ton of different programs. Like
Mhm.
this Pinterest creators thing, like I've done Pinterest research programs with them. It's like they have creators. There's like a ton of different things. So
Okay.
um, they're they're massive. And again, because they're not just a recipe site. If you want a recipe site, I know a really good one. It's called FoodSocial. You should check it out. But yeah, I'm there's a lot of different things. Any last minute questions as we come to the top of the hour? All right. Well, my closing thing is just going to be that I am going to create a Pinterest board that will be called something like, I'm going to do a little research on this, but it'll probably be called Food Social Recipe Creator Favorites or something like that. I'll invite everyone who's on this call who shared their Pinterest page earlier, or if you share it now, if you missed out on that. Um, and I will invite all of you to collaborate on that board. And the ask is just to make 2 original pins or 3 original pins of recipes on Food Social with a Food Social link that you want to share.